99% of what I studied at university, I never used up. Business world, it's more about reading people. How do you build trust? How do you feel comfortable and confident? How do you necessarily take the conversation the way you want to take it? And these are not skills you learn from a textbook. Dubai is an incredible market, but it's different to every other market I've seen as well. You can really escalate very quickly. Also, you can end up in a very high burn rate if you're not careful also. In today's age, when you can see the growth of social media, you can see all of these young entrepreneurs who have really scaled up very, very quickly from nowhere almost. What you might not realize is their public persona is very different to what they're doing behind the scenes. Everything takes hard.
If you had to give a piece of advice to any entrepreneur looking to set up a business in Dubai, what would it be? What is one myth that you wish to debunk? Common sales mistakes entrepreneurs do in Dubai, and how can they avoid them? Which sector do you think is going to get the maximum value from this? What's the last thing you Googled?
Honestly, my name.
Making sure you're still up there.
Exactly, just to see what's the new content that's visible.
Dubai real estate or crypto, which will go higher faster?
Today, we're honored to welcome Dave Chaggar, Sales Director at Capital Club Dubai, known as the Capital Connector. With over a decade of experience driving growth and fostering connections in the UAE's business ecosystem, Dave combines strategic matchmaking with a visionary approach. Recognized as one of Arabian business's 30 under 40, he's dedicated to creating impactful networks and supporting innovation. Join us as Dave shares his journey of building value in one of the world's most dynamic business hubs, Dubai.
Dave, you've earned your reputation as the capital connector in Dubai. Can you take us back to your childhood and way before that? What are those things that shaped who you are today?
So I think many factors growing up that kind of led me to this point, I guess. Being from, a family business oriented environment where you're constantly focused on how you're going to grow the business. That was one angle. And then even down to public speaking, so many things that my parents actually put me through contributed to some of the skills that I feel I have these days.
So was it at the early age that you knew you wanted to do this? Connect people?
I always had a passion for business. As to which angle that would be, I always thought I'd probably be under the family banner, running the business, taking it to new levels. Then getting involved in different angles of family business changed the parameters completely. And to where it is now, I feel like a lot of those skills I've learned or developed for our own personal requirements now is for the much wider community here in the UAE, for a lot of people who want to do business here, people who want to settle here. So it's kind of every day I feel is very, very much rewarding and beneficial from my personal perspective and also for the people who I'm trying to assist.
And was there like a pivotal moment where you realized that this is what you wanted to do? Like, how did you know that this was your calling or this is what you wanted to do?
So I think even when I joined Capital Club, I understood about the club, I understood about the history. Most people in the UAE who are involved in the business environment are familiar with it. But I didn't really expect that things would escalate to the point where they are right now in terms of it being the focal point where people come to try and meet other people, figure out the solutions to complex problems. So this kind of evolved a lot over time. I think the early stages were not what I expected to how it is now.
So the Capital Club, when someone hears the Capital Club, they think that they're going to go there and get money. Is that what it's about? How does the Capital Club work?
Well, it's a different environment completely. It's a very much kind of business-focused community, but very much for the higher level, top C-suite and above. A lot of the people who you would not normally see walking around, they normally live in Emirates Hills or District 1 or, they're only traveling in for high-level meetings. So nothing really surprises you as to who you might see on a daily basis within the club. But sometimes you need to pinch yourself and realize that this is kind of like a bubble in terms of all of the high-level people being within one environment. Can you necessarily go there and make money? Objectively, that's what everybody's looking to do, no matter what their level of achievement is. They're there for high-level meetings, to close their transactions, meet other like-minded, heavy hitters within their industry or sector. So that's kind of the purpose. But again, nothing is guaranteed. It comes down to your character and how you form those bonds, who you're meeting within the club. All those different types of factors come into play.
So if someone joins your club, they have access to other businessmen that they can connect with, and it's up to them how they, establish, garner those relationships.
So they have access to the establishment. As and how they necessarily network or informally meet other members, that's something that comes down to each and every person individually, I guess. But it is a platform for sure.
And was it the first one of its kind here in Dubai, or was there another?
Exactly. So it was opened 15 years ago. And it was kind of one of the focal points of DIFC from the very establishment. That's kind of evolved a lot over time. And what we've noticed also is things have changed dramatically within the club in terms of even the split of male-female ratio, and in terms of also having a younger demographic as well. And I think the younger generation can contribute so much to the older generation in terms of learning. Very much a place in terms of thought leadership as well. We have a lot of kind of overlap with the government sector. So there's so many different aspects where it adds value to people's lives, as well as kind of being their home away from home, their place where they can entertain their clients. It kind of serves many, many different purposes in a way.
So if I'm a businessman looking to meet other businessmen, and I come and say I want to join the Capital Club, what are the top 3 things I could benefit from it just off the bat, like just as joining as a businessman to the Capital Club?
So sometimes you don't always want to be stuck in the office. It kind of limits your horizons in a way, because you're with your core staff. They're running in their own different directions. By being in a place like the club, you can still do what you need to in terms of work, whether it be on your laptop or your phone. You can have your meetings outside. Sometimes having your meetings outside in a central place like DIFC adds value, number 1, because of the location. Number 2, because it is only for members and their guests. So it sets a precedent in itself. And then beyond that is the fact that you can also unwind a little bit. You can take some time out to relax. You can have lunch within the same location without having to run across different parts of town. So it can kind of serve many different aspects of your working day.
Do your work, invite guests or meetings if you have them.
Exactly.
And as a member, you can invite people from outside. No problem.
Exactly, yeah.
So the private members club, you say, is an old-time thing that's been there over centuries. It's a group of people getting together and making it really private. And now, today, in today's world, how do you see the role of social media and maybe, how do you see the role of social media changing that?
So I think there are so many different platforms out there right now, and each kind of operates in very different ways. So if I just take Capital Club as an example, because obviously that's where I am, I find that LinkedIn, being more of a business tool, is far, far more useful, because again, when we're having different types of business events or high-profile speakers coming in, it's very much kind of in line with how LinkedIn operates. In terms of some of the other platforms, they might be more suited towards the social clubs. Then a lot of the clubs have no camera policy as well. So it really depends on the type of club.
So LinkedIn, you'd say, is the closest online version of the Capital Club?
Yeah, to some degree. Because then at the end of the day, it is a network of the business community. We are very much a private network of the business community, and also far more kind of face-to-face. But I would say that's the closest in terms of a digital platform, somehow similar to Capital Club itself.
And what are the benefits someone would get if they come to the physical Capital Club compared to just being online on a LinkedIn?
Well, firstly, you need to be approved to be able to access. You need to be vetted in terms of your character, your persona, your abilities as a businessman, your achievements. All these factors are already a prerequisite as to whether you can enter as a member. Then above and beyond, is the fact that you can invite your guests, you can have your meetings, you have that privacy, the staff know you on a first name basis. It's kind of like your second office in a way. So all those different factors, I think, really kind of add value as to what is a private physical members club like Capital Club.
Exclusivity and human touch, you would say.
Exclusivity, yes. Privacy.
Privacy.
That human touch, yeah.
So before becoming a sales director at the Capital Club, what was the toughest challenges you faced in your career?
I would say negotiating a 500 megawatt expansion plan, which again, at my age then, I was much, much younger, dealing with the VPs of major corporations like MAN, Wärtsilä, Siemens, and trying to fight them on price, because you're looking at $350 million project size, and how to kind of fast track in terms of learning the expertise to actually be able to talk on the technical side and to be able to also compete with them in terms of benchmarking on pricing. So that was really something that, was a steep learning curve.
Negotiating.
Yeah, exactly. Using their own information against them.
Well, that's a crisp definition. Using their own information against them.
Exactly.
So
I still remember when I was in the situation where I was giving them target prices and they were asking for me to justify how I got to those prices, and then sharing their own press releases. That was quite an enjoyable moment.
Information they put out there themselves.
Exactly, yeah, because at the end of the day, when it comes to the power sector, they normally disclose some of the big projects that they've secured around the world. What's the difference between the US or Canada compared to Africa? It's all about location.
So tell us about where were you born?
So I was born in the UK in Leicestershire, which is 2 hours north of London. Spent most of my life there, or early years there, and then studied at St Andrews University.
So wait, before university, that time in high school, what was it like?
I was so much focused on my sports. Sports, and then I always knew I needed to get the grades. If I didn't get the grades, then obviously my parents would put a stop to a lot of the sports side that I wanted to do. But I used to play a lot of squash, a lot of rugby, very, very active. And, education was always something I just needed to kind of be there on par.
And the parents were non-negotiating about. They wanted you to get good
grades.
I
had the liberty and freedom to do what I wanted to do as long as the grades were good. Because again, Asian families are quite pushy in terms of education being, the most important thing. Then from there, I studied at St Andrews University. In fact, it was my passion. I really wanted to go to London and study because most of my friends were going there and because it's such a vibrant city. However, my parents were completely against the idea.
Where did they want you to go?
They wanted me to go to St Andrews, which is very well known in terms of the golfing sector, and then also in terms of, I remember to this day, it was still, my father said, you will surround yourself by good people at a university like St Andrews, and it was very true in the end. And I guess that was kind of part of.
And did you know what you wanted to study before you went to university?
I was always keen on economics because I thought it's a broad degree. It allows for you to be kind of understanding different aspects of business. So that was really my focus, and that's what I carried on with. But I remember from the day I graduated, then it was a case of straight into the family business.
And what is that family business about?
So that's the core business is manufacturing of rubber and plastic components for the automotive sector.
Okay, and would your manufacturing happen in the UK or elsewhere?
It was mainly UK, Romania, Turkey, and India as kind of the core locations for manufacturing.
Multinational business manufacturing.
Exactly. And then it was effectively for global sourcing. So like you buy a Mercedes or you buy a Volkswagen, those types of parts that are normally fitted in the car, it was those types of components that were being manufactured. So, and I used to see both sides of the business from the logistics, the internal side, as well as the hands-on manufacturing side, because everything was done within the same main premises in the UK.
Head office.
So, yeah, exactly. So it was very good to see both sides of the equation in terms of the senior managerial staff and then everybody who's actually involved in the processes and manufacturing as well.
And how many people would you say worked in all of these?
In the UK alone, 120 staff.
Wow.
And then across the world in different locations, each location would have had 70, 80 plus staff as well. So overall, quite a big operation, but then everything was kind of coordinated by the UK head office.
Okay, so you got to oversee. And how did you use economics in your job there? Was it like, was what you were doing what you studied, or was it very different than what you...
So I tend to find 99% of what I studied at university, I never used afterwards.
Never.
You know, there's only few aspects when it comes back to me, then I kind of remember that this was something that I'd studied in the past. But even now, when I'm looking at quadratic equations my son is doing at school, it's like, wow, I actually used to do these types of things. So I find a lot of the learning processes from school, from university, is perfect in terms of expanding your mind, just to kind of see, test the mind as a muscle. However, you don't necessarily use it in the day-to-day business world. It's more about reading people. How do you build trust? How do you feel comfortable and confident? How do you necessarily take the conversation the way you want to take it? And these are not skills you learn from a textbook.
No. What is that one core value that you never compromise on when cultivating relationships?
Honesty.
Honesty.
It's the most important thing. I think people can read if you're speaking from the heart or not. And it's always better to actually say openly if something's possible, not possible, or it may take some time, rather than necessarily take it down the wrong direction, promise something that you can't deliver. And people respect it more in the long term.
When you're not honest, it affects your credibility, you'd say.
Yeah, the two go hand in hand. Because at the end of the day, if you deliver on what you say, even if it takes a little bit longer, people will remember that. But people will also remember equally if you said that you'll do something and it's never done.
You facilitated countless connections in which there were probably some game-changing deals. What is a surprising deal that came out of, or an unexpected deal that came out of a connection?
So I think one of the most surprising ones is a very, very old connection that I had in Qatar. I've known the family for a very long time. They're a very, very prominent family, similar to a lot of the big names that we know here in terms of the local Emirati families. And this was actually to help a prominent Indian family, one of the big developers here within the region. And they were planning a few days trip to Qatar to explore the business landscape. Asked if I could make a few different introductions. And one of them, before I knew it, they closed a very, very significant transaction, something that they were always looking to do on both sides, but they never had the right point of contact. So that was also very interesting.
How did you feel about that?
Very, very rewarding because, just to know that you were part of the process, that you were able to kind of align the dots, it's a very enjoyable feeling, yeah.
Unexpected.
Exactly. It's nice to know that you're able to contribute something to other people's lives.
Right. High-level networking is a skill many people think they understand. What is that one thing that you know about high-level networking that you think is a deciding factor?
I think listen more than speak. It's always, an important factor because the more you listen, the more you can gauge, the more you can understand, and then see where there could be synergy.
What about in Dubai?
So Dubai is so fast, everybody's looking for immediate results wherever possible. And I think this is useful in some respects, but to actually make connections that stay with you long term and can be beneficial, it's better to take a longer term approach. Take your time. If people can understand that you're connecting with them for far more than just even business, but you like them as a person, you connect well, you can spend time with them, you can talk about other things. These things make a big, big difference because their network can effectively become your network. If you have synergy. If you don't have synergy, why would they necessarily open up their circle to you? Whether it be that they're not confident in what you offer, whether they don't feel the trust factor. At the end of the day, if I have a very, very strong network of very influential people, would I necessarily open them up for everybody? No, it would just be for the people who I trust most, where I know that the relationship will be managed correctly.
If you had to give a piece of advice to any entrepreneur looking to set up a business in Dubai, what would it be?
Really do your homework. Make sure you understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. Even as far as simple competitor analysis, you need to know the full landscape. You need to know from a price perspective, how are you going to be offering a better solution than anybody else? Do you have enough runway in terms of cash flow to be able to take the business to the next level? There are so many factors that you need to consider because Dubai is an incredible market, but it's different to every other market I've seen as well. You can really escalate very quickly, but also you can end up in a very high burn rate if you're not careful also.
From your perspective, what makes Dubai a fertile ground for businesses?
There are so many different angles as to what Dubai is now compared to before. Like, if I look at what Dubai was pre-COVID, it was considered as a great place in terms of lifestyle, but many people saw it with a short-term view. Now people see Dubai in a very different kind of limelight. After COVID. I think the way that the UAE managed COVID was testimony to the fact that when the rest of the world was making, abrupt decisions, the UAE controlled the situation, opened up the borders very quickly. It showed that it was a very kind of open, kind of forward-thinking landscape. And now people who are moving to Dubai are planning 10, 15, 20 years in terms of this being their long-term plan. So there are so many factors as to why people are comfortable with that now. It's safety, it's the climate, it's all the different nationalities. I don't know of a single city that has so many different nationalities that can intermingle without any violence, without any unrest. Everybody coexists here.
You come across a lot of interesting people, and you've seen them working in different industries. Based on your experience, which industry do you see moving forward? Which one would you take a bet on?
I still think there's going to be a lot of change within the crypto space. I think the whole concept of money has adapted a lot from the very original days of like a bearer's note to then, now you have the mints printing all different types of currencies, etc. The moment things open up in the digital economy has been a big shift that kind of changes the flexibility and the ease of doing things. I think there's still going to be a lot of transition, in terms of how the tax authorities of different governments kind of operate and kind of work together with these new currencies that are in existence right now. I think that's going to be a booming sector and something which the Middle East is at the forefront, especially here in the UAE.
And when you say booming, are you talking about the next 3 to 5 years or like more a 5 to 7 years stretch? Or are you talking about 10 years plus?
I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the adoption rate will go much higher. Because if you look at people who are holding different type of cryptocurrencies, for argument's sake, still is a very small adoption rate. It takes a while for the second generation, let's say, or those within their 40s to 50s upwards to actually then start feeling comfortable using such new currencies.
And what do you think adoption will be like? Will it be like ATM machines everywhere, or how would it be online transfers?
I think we're going to be completely surprised with a lot of the changes happening within this sector. It may be far more flexible than even simple ATM machines because you don't necessarily need the physical cash in your hand.
You don't need to withdraw anything.
So it gives you so much more flexibility. So how this may adapt, we're in the perfect place to see how this innovation is going to happen because it's being so heavily pushed and regulated. You've got both sides.
A few days ago I saw something on we're going cashless here.
Exactly. And it makes life that much easier. You can effectively do so many things just with your phone these days that, cash, whilst it's nice to hold, 50, 100,000 dirhams in your hand, it's not necessarily, the need these days when you can just do everything with a click of a button.
Dave, I know this podcast is about you, but allow me to steal a couple of minutes, share a story. When I was in high school, I used to go to Dubai National School.
Okay.
It's a private school, mostly Emiratis.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the school and they decided to take us to a field trip to the police, Dubai police headquarters. So we go in there and they start explaining to us about money. And money is so dirty. If you think about it physically, on money, you find so many different things because that money has changed hands so many times.
Yeah.
So even money itself, a point that people don't notice is it's actually dirty. Like you have it in your pocket, but it's been fondled down by the last 10 guys that touched it. And are they all clean? Are they all washing their hands? There's a percentage of everything on that note. So that's another thing people don't talk about, but it's actually dirty. Like if you touch the money and then you want to eat, it's not so healthy.
Exactly.
It's better to like wash your hands.
And I guess with digital currencies, it no longer becomes a requirement. The interesting thing, in fact, just from what you said now, it kind of just crossed my mind. Never have I thought about this before. But you can be holding 1,000 dirham note or 100 dirham note, let's say, and just think of it as one piece of paper or one piece of currency. Now, whilst that might be used, I don't know, go to Starbucks or, just buy a meal in a restaurant, that same note could have been potentially used in a $100 million transaction or a $50 million transaction. So the value of that note in the grand scheme of things has served many, many different purposes throughout its lifespan.
Yeah. Interesting. I never thought about that. As someone who's been involved in high-value, multi-million-dollar deals, how has that shaped your personal investment strategy?
I think one thing I'm always mindful of, because I see both sides of the equations. I see the large-scale transactions, then the large-scale problems. A lot of the large-scale problems are in terms of mismanagement of cash flow. That's always the root of the issue.
Right.
And then when you're out of sync, say you've got too much of a debt burden for argument's sake, it takes much, much more effort to kind of fix those problems than to kind of not get yourself in the situation in the first place. So I guess how it's changed my personal perspective is to be just a little bit more conservative. There's no point being completely conservative where you lose out on opportunities, but don't take unnecessary risks that you kind of can see the warning lights already that this could lead me into a problematic situation.
So what percentage of someone's portfolio should they have in crypto?
I guess it really depends on risk appetite, but I think in this current stage, it's important to have, I feel, brick and mortar investments, investments within kind of different emerging businesses. Some people might only go maybe 10, 15% within the crypto space at this stage. Yeah.
From your experience, what are the common sales mistakes entrepreneurs do in Dubai, and how can they avoid them?
The biggest mistake I see, and I get hundreds of emails and direct messages every day where they're immediately trying to push a product or service. They've got no bond or connection with you. What differentiates what they do compared to anybody else? So, it's like, why rush? You don't need to rush to sell. You need to develop a connection first. Once the connection's there, your potential close rate is much, much higher because it's based on some kind of foundation.
In the business world, taking risks is super important for growth. So is it in your personal life. What is a risk you took in your personal life that propelled you to long-term success?
I think having children. It's one of those things where you're not necessarily fully prepared to kind of bring new people into the world. And with every new child brings their own blessings, their own success. It's something which I think really, really does add a lot of personal value and can just shape the way you look at things completely differently.
And that long-term satisfaction as well, it's always growing with you. I think I never thought about it, but you're right. Because it's an unknown risk, right?
Exactly.
You're always not sure. No one's sure when they're doing it, because you haven't experienced it before.
Yeah, everything is new. Like even, to have your own kind of, your own family, your own kind of children, it changes the concept of everything. You see things in a different light. And nothing can fully prepare you for it.
Yeah. We've heard about your business achievements, and we want to know more about your humble beginnings and how they shaped your leadership style today.
So I think as I grew up, I think the whole concept of how you run a business has changed so much between now and then. Like it was very much authoritarian in terms of how any types of businesses were run in the UK. So one in terms of country and the other in terms of, I guess, how time has moved forward. Things have become far more flexible now, especially in the last 10, 15 years in terms of the way you operate. You don't necessarily need to be in the office all the time. You can have that flexibility to take, work from home even. So I think the key what I've kind of seen is I don't necessarily follow the older values as to how, it was growing up. I think now you've got to be adaptable. The more freedom you give, the more responsibility you give to people, the more they can achieve.
So you're all about delegating things.
Delegation, but also freedom as well. because only if somebody feels free can they actually perform at their best.
Yeah.
Optimum results come when you actually empower somebody rather than restrict somebody.
So you give someone their freedom, you tell them to run off and do it their way, and they mess it up and come back to you. What do you do then?
I guess the most important thing is ask them, what do they see as the reason why it failed, and what would they do differently in the future? Everybody makes mistakes. There's no way to kind of always do everything 100% correctly. But those mistakes, if you kind of look back, reflect, and don't repeat, then that's then very useful for the future moving forward.
As the capital connector, a key figure in Dubai's business landscape, what are things we should look to expect from you in the future or events that are coming?
So we have a very big anniversary party that's coming in the future in terms of the club side. It's going to be a very, very interesting year moving forward because we're seeing thousands and thousands of millionaires moving to Dubai. The whole landscape is going to keep on changing. It's going to be a very interesting period ahead.
Elon Musk had a tweet, "Well done, Dubai," or something, right? Recently for bringing so many millionaires.
It's incredible. It's like it's becoming the central location in the world in a way I've never seen any country have that level of kind of wow factor. Yeah. In terms of personal side, I think there are opportunities coming from all different angles in terms of working with some of the big corporations that join the club, obviously. And, everybody has their own requirements, and it's very interesting. A lot of that is privacy driven that I can't disclose, but it's very interesting to see what is their journey and, where they sometimes need guidance as well.
Excellent. And how do you think this influx is going to, they say they wanted to increase the population drastically in the next few years. Which sector do you think is going to get the maximum value from this?
Well, the real estate sector for sure is going to just keep on skyrocketing.
Real estate?
I'm hearing these days from a lot of the big developers that their buildings are sold off within a matter of hours even. And these are not just only local buyers. People are buying internationally, or they're delegating their lawyers to buy on their behalf.
Okay, real estate or crypto? Dubai real estate or crypto? Which will go higher faster?
I think crypto could still go through some...
Crypto is nuts.
It could go... It just takes one or two global situations and it'll have major impact in terms of the crypto space.
What do you think?
Yeah. It depends whether he puts his foot down when it comes to crypto or whether he's in support.
There's that one governor, he's all in for crypto. Dos Santos, I think his name is.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, there are a few people that are pro-crypto. Before, no one would even talk about it. Like, it wouldn't be mentioned. Now,
yeah, it was almost considered a dirty word.
Yeah.
At first. But now people are seeing it as an alternative asset class.
Yeah,
And I guess from my side, the way I see, with new emerging technologies and things like crypto, for argument's sake, they're susceptible to big changes in terms of the global economic situation. Any one political factor can make a huge impact as to whether they succeed or whether they go bust. However, with real estate in the UAE,
you won't get a triple up in 1 day, in 1 year or something.
Like everybody needs a place to live. Everybody coming to Dubai needs a place that they call home. So for all of those thousands and thousands of people who are finally making the decision to move to the UAE, they need accommodation. So that's where I can see Dubai is going to keep on growing, and we're going to see the population keep on increasing for the next 5-10 years at least.
Do you think all of the UAE or just Dubai?
I think all of the UAE, because at the end of the day, even if you consider Abu Dhabi or Sharjah or Rajman compared to Dubai, each has got their own differences in terms of lifestyle. And some people prefer to be in a quieter place. Some people prefer to be in a busy central location. So I think as the population increases, it'll do so across all of the Emirates.
Okay. You're saying real estate is that sector that you think would be really highly...
I think so, because, it's always been a question mark as to whether prices are inflated. Are they going to come down? Is it a bubble?
Every year,
all these types of concepts. I think it's always that fear factor. And often I tend to find that the people who are the ones debating the most are the ones who don't invest anyway when it comes to these types of markets. a lot of the people who invested from the very early days, they swear by real estate, especially in the UAE, where
Especially if you
prices have
actually need a
kept
home.
rising.
Especially if you need a home and you're paying rent. Because if you're...
It's a staple requirement for everybody
Exactly.
to have a place to live. And for all these people moving new, where they have Western standards, I mean, the build quality now in the UAE is really something of a very, very high level.
That's something
So-
that's not spoken about that much, about the build quality.
True. But I think a lot of these big developers, they've got the best of expat staff who are working in the senior positions. They keep on adapting with all the trends to make sure that each new project that they're launching is something of very high quality. So this is where I think now, with the way the UAE is developed compared to, the rest of the world, it's really on such a high uptrend that I can see this keep on going for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, there are so many factors to the UAE that really put it in a unique position. I don't think it can be mentioned in the same sentence as London and Paris or New York now. Most of the times when I have our members or good friends who have traveled overseas, they're always complaining about whether it be the safety or whether it be, the quality of the hotels or whether it be, certain instances that
Especially
happen.
when you have money and you want to pay for quality. And then you go to Europe and you pay so much and you get an old building, old bad treatment. A lot of it is, and honestly, this is just my view, is that the service level you can never compare to Dubai.
Yeah. And thankfully, we're in a position where being here for however many years, you get very much accustomed to the lifestyle.
You can't leave and not get the service.
And the problem is nothing else in the world really, really does compare. So it's good that we're blessed by so much in terms of quality of life and so much to enjoy, and so much is provided for that we get to enjoy on a daily basis. But yeah, in comparison to other cities, I think Dubai is top.
In entrepreneurship, there's a lot of myth, and I'm sure you've encountered a few. What is one myth that you wish to debunk, that you think is something that people think, but it's not really true?
I think, especially in today's age, when you can see the growth of social media, you can see all of these young entrepreneurs who have really scaled up very, very quickly from nowhere almost. People seem to think that these things just can happen without effort and hard work. It's not the case. Like, even those people where you think that they've rose to fame super quickly or they've come into significant fortunes, what you might not realize is their public persona is very different to what they're doing behind the scenes. Everything takes hard work. You can't undervalue how much it requires. Like, luck is important for sure, but everybody needs to have some kind of structure to actually get to where they want to achieve.
What impact do you wish to leave on your industry and the people you've connected with over the years?
So in terms of the industry, I would say private membership has been always considered as an old boys kind of network. I really want to see that now translate into, the world 2.0, in terms of everybody wants to kind of grow their business. They want to scale up. They want to meet the right people. They want to network. They want to be building their personal friendships as well. So taking what was the essence of a purpose to do business in terms of the private members clubs from decades and decades ago, now to adapt it fully to the new generation, where our requirements are different. People expect to try and get results a little bit faster and also kind of spread their risk a little bit more.
Okay, Dave, we're going to start the first ones. It's called the rapid fire round.
Okay.
You got to give me your answer in one word or one sentence.
Okay.
Whatever comes to your mind. And there are about 10 questions. Whenever you're ready, let's
So
go
one
for it.
word or one sentence?
One word or one sentence.
Okay.
What was your very first role in the business world?
Very first role in the business world was as sales and marketing manager for an automotive manufacturing company.
Okay, great. What's one item you absolutely can't live without when meeting clients?
The phone. That's your access to absolutely everything in the world.
Interesting. What's one thing you value the most in the people that you meet?
I would say empathy.
Empathy.
Being able to actually connect with them and share your feelings.
Great answer. What's the weirdest request you received as your role as capital connector?
There's quite a few. I actually really don't know which is the wildest and wackiest one, but every week there's something or the other that surprises me.
It's like the funniest thing that happened.
Sometimes you get asked for access for VVIP events that you know is impossible. It's completely impossible to even attend, but still people think that they can try.
Okay. Well, you got to give them, if you could connect anyone in history with a business opportunity in Dubai, who would it be?
Anybody in history. There's so many significant names to think who would be great to connect. I would say, does it matter if I'm not answering it straight away? I'm just trying to think.
Take your time.
Who would it actually be?
Yeah,
Somebody who would be...
It could be a Steve Jobs. I don't know. It could be a Napoleon. It could be who'd you connect with? Who'd you bring to Dubai?
I would say Gandhi.
Gandhi.
Because he managed to achieve so much in terms of India. And now when you see how much interconnection there is between India and the UAE, I think that would have been incredible.
Wow.
To see from where things were before to how things are now in terms of connection and bond between the two countries.
Great. The connection is definitely a massive one.
Yeah.
What's the last thing you Googled?
Honestly, my name.
Making sure you're still up there.
Exactly, just to see what's the new content that's visible.
If you could switch lives with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Sheikh Mohammed. How incredible would it be to see everything that he manages to deal with on a daily basis? It would be truly inspirational.
What a great answer. Your favorite place in Dubai to unwind after a long day of meetings?
Favorite place in Dubai, I would say around the Jumeirah area, just to be by the beach. Just takes away all the stress, whatever's happening in life.
So close to the beach, you would say?
Yeah, it's nice to have that fresh air, to have the sea, to just see people walking around, relaxed. It just, as much as there's so much pressure in Dubai, it's nice to have some breathing space.
Amazing. If you had to describe Dubai in one word, what would you describe it as?
Energetic.
Energetic.
Yes.
How old were you when you made your first business connection in Dubai?
I was 30 or so, just before 30. But then when one connection opened up, it became like a waterfall effect.
And so one led to so many more connections?
When I started having to do business through the UAE, once I actually put my finger on the pulse to start making a few inquiries about different products and services that we required from the UAE, then it just escalated very, very quickly.
And were you out of the UAE at the time you made the connection, or were you already inside Dubai?
I was already out of the UAE. So I already started transacting from whilst I was based in the UK. However, in terms of finding different suppliers for certain requirements that we had, things became very, very easy. And then when I was traveling just for short trips, already things started to open up. But then very, very quickly, I found that the network just grew massively because they would recommend you to other suppliers. You're dealing with their full teams. So from very, very small start, then it became much, much wider network very, very quickly.
Okay, so you were not in Dubai prior to being 30 years old. And then when you were 30, you made your connection and you started visiting Dubai more?
Exactly. It took me about a year and a half of having some kind of interaction with Dubai before we actually made the move. Because once I started to see the level of opportunity of being based here and traveling more frequently through the UAE, then I actually thought, okay, this is the right place to live.
When you think about your future and the legacy you want to leave behind, what is that thing you want to be remembered for?
I'd like to be remembered as someone who cared. Someone who actually tried his best to kind of solve solutions where, it contributed to many other people. Ideally.
Yeah, empathy. You said it in
Yeah.
the beginning. You seem to be an empathetic person. It's important for you that the person you're working with, or that you interact with, has a good impression about you.
And I think luckily, one of the things I feel I've kind of built over time is just an awareness to kind of see through the mist and try and figure out where the solution may be, and if that can be of big benefit to other people's lives, then that's something which is always great to see.
Excellent. Dave, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem.
We've met before, but I never really got to...
Exactly. No, when you mentioned about doing the podcast, I thought, okay, great. Let's get it done.
I think...
And I think it's going to really, really take off.